Mira, shall we just get going? And
yeah, so welcome to our SharePoint workshop. We've got Dominic here, who's going to be running the workshop today. We've got some housekeeping rules. Can you make sure you keep your audio on mute, and if you want your video on, you can keep it on. And can you let us know in the chat where you're from, which organization, and introduce yourself in the chat to let us know. And if you have any questions during the meeting, just write it in the chat or put your hand up, and we'll get Dominic to answer them for you. Okay. Yeah.
Thanks, Mira. Just to say that this is a obviously this is a collaboration with Voluntary Action Camden, Voluntary Action Islington, and the WCIT network, and it's a follow-on from the Office 365 workshop that we ran a few months ago now. I can't remember when exactly, and then the Teams workshop that was on about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And yeah, this is all about SharePoint. So shall we hand over to Dom?
Yeah, great, thank you. So hello everybody, my name's Dominic. As Alex said, I'm from the WCIT. I'm also a trustee of the Charity IT Association, and my background is in IT infrastructure, Office 365 servers, networks, that kind of thing. Apologies if you see me looking in different screens. I've got only one camera and 2 or 3 screens I need to look at to do this presentation. If you've got questions, I'm happy just for people to jump in whenever they have any. I'll go through fairly slowly, but happy to speed up or slow down as you want.
And Dom, sorry, one thing I forgot to say is that we are recording the session, just so people are aware. Sorry, thanks.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to start talking about SharePoint Admin. I'll just spend a few minutes showing you how to control SharePoint. Then we'll go into look at different ways of accessing it, different types of permissions and access, how you can grant people the rights to view and edit. We'll talk a little bit about sharing, and then if there's time towards the end, I'll also show you how to edit your SharePoint pages to sort of start building out the interface a bit better. So if I start with admin, so I assume everybody's able to log in. I'll start right from the beginning. Let's close all of these and open up.
Just so that you know, I've joined. Let me start my video.
Okay, so I'm just demonstrating how to log into the Office portal at the moment. You type in office.com and that will show you, just the right company, yeah. That will show you your Office dashboard. On the left-hand side, there's an admin button. Clicking on that will open up the admin portal if you have the permissions to do so. And there is a dedicated site admin center for SharePoint here. Sorry, I assume everyone can see my screen, correct? Just thumbs up or nod if you can. Yeah, okay. Right, so this is the SharePoint admin site. Most of this is not going to be particularly interesting to most people. There's some useful stats, so you can see how well the site is being used or how much the site is being used by your organization. The 2 areas that you'll really be interested in are the active sites and the sharing and access control policies. So if we start here in active sites, SharePoint is not one single platform. On top of SharePoint, you create your own sites. And you can have as many sites. Sorry, is there a question?
No, there's no question.
No? Okay. You can have as many sites on SharePoint as you want within reason. Typically, there is one set up by the company administrator. That's your default site, and these other ones will get set up either through creating a site here yourself, or now a lot of these are created when you open up Teams. So when you log into Teams and create a channel or a Teams team, that'll actually create a site. By the way, this is one of my company SharePoint sites. I'm showing you a real live system. This is being recorded, but please don't do anything with anything you see on here. There's nothing too secret. I won't be showing you the crown jewels, but still, it's a little bit sensitive. So this here is Bluetooth Partners, one of the companies I work for, is their main site. And if you see here, I can click on the name and I can look at the details, the administration portal for this site. Okay, so I can see the site, I can see the URL, the web address that I type in to go to it. So if I was to type in that address, it will take me to this specific site within SharePoint. The storage limits, and I can see who has access to it. So everybody within my organization, in this particular case, can see this site. Some of the other ones have different settings. So if I looked at this Project Lion, you'll notice probably, yeah, so only people who are a member of the Project Lion can see this site. Everyone else doesn't even know it, will never know it exists. So the first thing to remember is when you create a site, make sure you think about who should be able to access it. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the types of sites now. So there are two. There's a team site, if you see here. Most of these are team sites. And there's a communication site. Team site is the most common, and that's really a collaboration site within SharePoint for a group of people in one organization. A communication site is a much more pretty visual site, and it's generally used for intranet or even for many people for a website. Okay, so this is this is typically customer facing. Team sites are typically internal for your own team. I'm going to mostly talk about team sites today because that's what I think you'll use more. Okay, and it's really easy to create a site. You just simply click on create. You choose whether you want a team or a communication site, and you enter in a few details. Right, so that's really it for admin. There's a lot more to it. I don't think people are this group are going to be too interested. Sorry, there is one thing I missed, which is the sharing policies. And this is a really important one because here is where you set whether or not people can see and share files with you just within your own company here, so only people within your own organization, or you allow other people access to these files. And this will really catch a lot of people out because by default I think it's set around here, which means people that you're not already working with can't share files. You couldn't send them files, they couldn't read or even view them. So this is an important portal, an important site to look at. So having said that, are there any questions at this point on SharePoint administration and setting up sites?
Sorry, I don't have a question regarding what you've just discussed, but I picked up that you was recording this. Will we be able to also get a record of this? Because I'm taking notes and I'm just not sure whether I need to rush through my notes or just ease back and more absorb what you're saying if I'm going to get a recording, please.
Sure.
We're going to get a recording and we are taking notes as well. So yeah, just focus on the session and we'll send those out.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Tom, maybe could you just sort of briefly explain what SharePoint actually is and the difference between that and OneDrive? Because I think that is quite confusing for most people.
Yeah, I'm going to come on to that actually in a second with the access because it's very confusing actually. The term SharePoint and OneDrive are often sort of mixed up and used in the wrong way or confused for the same thing. They are very, very similar, but not quite. But actually, I should say broadly, SharePoint is a collaboration tool for sharing data and for sharing workflows. It's most commonly known for sharing files. but it can also be used for forms, filling out forms and that sort of thing, and then automating certain processes. So often a new starter form, for example, is on SharePoint, and somebody will go to the SharePoint portal, fill out the form, and that would create a document that's automatically sent to somebody else to process, and that kind of thing. Okay, so I'm going to move on to accessing SharePoint now. And the first way to do that is again through office.com. Okay, and if you go to office.com, down the left-hand side, you'll see the SharePoint option. This takes you to the SharePoint app, okay, which is, again, it's just a website, but it's considered a dedicated application in the same way Outlook, Word, Excel, and all of these other apps are considered apps. Within the SharePoint app, you'll see the sites that you follow or the sites that you've recently used. To follow a site, you just click on the star, and you'll see that in lots of the screens you're going to see in a minute. And that pins it to the front page of your app, so you can always get to it quite easily. So that's one way, that's a common way of accessing it. The other way is simply to type in the address. I showed you earlier that Plutus Partners is plutuspartners.sharepoint.com, and every single SharePoint site ends .sharepoint.com. The first section is set up by your company administrator when they sign up to Microsoft. So it's always going to be company name normally .sharepoint.com, and then there'll be, as you can see here, lots of stuff that follows that. But this takes you to a very different page. This takes you to the team site for, in this case, Plutus Partners. Unfortunately, this isn't widely used within Plutus Partners, but you can see this is a much more rich site. This is not an application, this is a website. This is available to anybody on web, as long as they've got permissions. I'll just demonstrate that by going to the same site, plutuspartners.sharepoint.com, incognito mode, so I'm not logged in, and it will require me to log in first. Okay, and if I don't log in, I'm not going to get any further than that. So this is a secure site that's available only to people that have got credentials to access it. So that's the second way, yeah, with the site name, and you can use any of the site names. This one I have permissions to again. Here you'll notice if I click on that, let's just bring that away. Yeah, so it's Plutus Partners. This time it's /sites/project lion. Okay, and DLH operations is sites/DLH operations. The end bit tells you which of the specific sites you're looking at. Any questions on accessing SharePoint from a browser? Okay.
So
basically, do you just type office.com and then your password? Is that all?
That's right. Yeah. I'll show you an incognito window. So if I do office.com.
It's just sort of Brendan has been affected here.
Somebody go on mute, whoever's got something in the background, thank you. If you go to office.com, you see this page. You sign in with your Office account. And it will take you to the dashboard that I showed you at the very beginning.
Yeah, yeah.
And from here you click on the SharePoint application.
And then, yeah.
And that takes you to the app. That's one way. Or you don't have to do that. You can just type in your site address, right, which is that one in my case, plutuspartners.sharepoint.com, and that will take me to the specific team site that I want to go to.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds a lot clearer. Thanks.
No problem.
Hi, Dom. Someone had asked me, okay, the question, will the sharing settings apply to all SharePoint content?
Good question. So this is the default setting. So every new site that's created will have these policies. As you see here, you can further restrict it for individual sites and for OneDrive. So if I go into the site and I pick this one, for example, you can look at sharing here, and I can change this just for this site. So for this one site, I may say it's only people within my organization can access it. Okay, or maybe for this one, everybody should be able to access. Okay. And the two other options are fairly self-explanatory: new and existing guests. A guest would be anybody that doesn't have an account that ends in your domain name. So in my case, plutuspartners.com. So yeah, anybody from Microsoft.com would be considered a guest. Anybody from VAC.com would be considered a guest. Okay, and there are further settings you can apply here. So you could say anybody, but limit it so that only people from Consoto.com can access. Okay, or anybody except, I said block, except these people. So I might not like the competition to be able to access it, but I might want everyone else to be able to. So you can set slightly different settings here, or as you see here, you just reset it back to the standard that I showed you at the beginning. Does that answer the question?
Anthony, Antoinette, if that answered your question?
Yes.
Okay,
Excellent.
great.
I had a question. I just wanted to find something. So when you're logging in, sometimes you ask for verification, and it does that quite a few times. Each time you click on SharePoint, each time you go into different parts, it keeps on asking for verification. How can you get rid of that?
That's constantly changing is the unfriendly answer. Microsoft are really trying to evolve that. The best thing you can do, so I'm using incognito here just so I can show you the login. Unfortunately, I have about 5 different 365 accounts, so I'm constantly in and out. But I will show you the single best thing you can do to make it as streamlined as possible. Hold on, I have to close, I think, and that one. Firstly, if you are logged into your company's domain, that will often just pass your username and password for you. So if you're on a company computer. Secondly, on the browser, once you've logged in, you'll notice this window here, stay signed in. Right? So if you say yes, it will put a cookie on your computer that will remember that you've logged in, and it won't ask you so often. It will do again from time to time. That's just the way Microsoft is at the moment. But yes, and now it will remember you fairly well, but not perfectly.
I think, Tom, as well, certainly at both of my organisations, because we have an IT support company, the way that they've set that up is that when you log into the computer, it's the same login that actually authorises the connection into Office 365. So and there's an app on the computer that you can open up, and some of that stuff is just available by the fact that you've already signed in to the computer. I think that might be another option of how to sort of get over those logins, but they do crop up, unfortunately.
Yeah, so that point, Alex, is if you're on a company issued computer that is part of a domain, it can pass your username and password through to Office 365 from your PC. If you're on a home computer, then it's unlikely to do that. So it depends where you are. Yeah. And in fact, it can be even more advanced than that. Depending on your organization, they can set certain settings so that some computers always ask you for a password, some computers never ask you for a password. There's a lot of options there that we can go into, but broadly, on a company machine, you should get asked less. On a home machine, you'll get asked a bit more. Any more questions on accessing SharePoint from a browser? No? Okay. So the next option is to use Microsoft Teams. And you can actually access some elements of SharePoint through Teams. This is where things start to get very, very grey, okay, because Teams is actually built on top of SharePoint. So a lot of what you see in Teams is actually a SharePoint site. So you've already seen the Project Lion. Within Project Lion, there is here a files section, and that will show me the files within SharePoint when it pops up. Okay, so there actually aren't any files in here, but if there were, let's just create one to show you. So there's now a file within the Project Lion SharePoint site that I can access through Teams. And if I go back to the site, to Project Lion, okay, and I look in the documents, I'm going to go through this in a bit more detail in a minute. Here, under General, because I was Project Lion General, there's the test file that we created just a few seconds ago. Okay, so one way is the browser, one way is through Teams. You then have the option, you'll see it both in Teams and within the browser, that you can sync SharePoint. So if I hit sync, it'll try and open Microsoft OneDrive. Okay, so OneDrive is both its own file system, its own space for private files, but that's also built on top of SharePoint. And you'll notice down here these little cloud icons I have. This is OneDrive. And if I look in the settings, you'll see that I'm syncing, I'm synchronizing the Project Lion files in OneDrive. Okay, so through OneDrive, I just click it. There is my test file in Project Lion that I created just a few minutes ago. Okay, so that's another way of accessing your file. And there's a final way. There's probably others, but there's a final way I can talk about I know of, which is the Windows Explorer. Okay. And you'll see we have, we're talking about Plutus partners. So this little blue office block tells you that this is a SharePoint site. And within there, I've got Project Lion, and again, I've got my test file. Okay, so lots and lots of different ways to see it. Windows Explorer, your browser, or Teams, okay, or even the OneDrive application. So they're all accessing that same file through 4 different applications. So this is why I say that SharePoint is a file store. Everything that people really interact with is an application on top of SharePoint, and that's probably the key thing that you need to remember. You don't really care so much about what's going on in the background behind the scenes. You care about the SharePoint site, the browser site. You care about Teams team. You care about your Windows Explorer, or you care about your OneDrive application. Okay. So far, am I making sense? I know it's a very tough concept to get around.
Can you sync both ways? So if you go into your Windows browser, Windows way of method of opening it, and you press the sync button, does that sync on automatically on the, if you go on browser and open it through the internet or anything like that? So
So you start the sync from within SharePoint by clicking on that sync button. Okay. Once that's synced, and you can see it within SharePoint that says here, these locations are syncing. Okay. I could want to, but once that syncing is happening, you'll notice here in Windows this little cloud icon. That suggests this file is in SharePoint. I can very easily just create a new file, text document. Okay, and you see the two arrows suggesting it's syncing up. It's copying it from now my computer, my Windows Explorer, into the cloud, and there it is. Right, so green tick means it's synchronized. It's in both locations. It's on my computer, and it's in SharePoint. It's on the application. It's there in OneDrive, and this is a little bit slower. It will be here. There it is here in Teams as well. So you can see it syncs all of these different applications. In fact, really, what it is, it's in only two places. It's either on your PC or it's in SharePoint. These applications are just different ways of looking at it. But an interesting point, and one I shouldn't forget, is that this icon really is very, very important. This cloud means that this particular file isn't on my computer. Okay, I can see the link to it, but it's not actually saved on my hard drive at the moment. If I went offline and took my laptop onto an airplane, for example, I could open second test because it's got a green tick. It's on my computer as well as being in the cloud, but I wouldn't be able to open test file because it's only in the cloud. Yeah. To do that, I'd firstly have to keep on this device, and if I do that, you notice it starts syncing, and now it's copied. It's always available on my device. So the file is actually in both places, and it's OneDrive that will continuously keep that file the same as the one in SharePoint.
Can you just drag and drop things off your machine onto the OneDrive and it would say like automatically sync it, or you press the sync button for that to happen?
No, you don't have to do anything. Let me just find. So if I wanted to copy this file from my desktop here, I drag and drop and it should. There we go. Oh. There you go. It's just copied it straight up into SharePoint. Okay. And likewise, I can drag and drop from the SharePoint folder straight onto my desktop, or as is probably more normal, actually onto your desktop there. And there it is.
Dominic, can I just ask, does that only sync across if you've got folders in folders in each area, Teams, off OneDrive, SharePoint, called Lion, Project Lion? Would it only sync across those folders, or does it go automatically into Share? So I use OneDrive at the moment and nothing else, but are my OneDrive files automatically going into SharePoint and Teams without me knowing?
No, so nothing's actually in Teams. Teams is just accessing the files in SharePoint.
So you're saying everything's sitting on SharePoint. So when I go into OneDrive, I'm actually looking at SharePoint.
Exactly it. Yes. SharePoint is the technology and the server, let's call it, that your file sits on.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem.
I've got a question, if I may ask you, please.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I usually upload the files from my desktop or from my local drive into the SharePoint. Once I finish with the file, I just upload it in the SharePoint. Would it automatically sync to the OneDrive, or I have to do it manually?
So OneDrive, in this instance, is the tool that actually does the syncing. So OneDrive is an application that you install on your computer.
Yeah.
And it's the file that's looking. So it's the application that's looking on your computer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I do open folder, it's looking in this folder, C users Dominic Pluto. That's the file on my computer. It's copying that up to SharePoint all the time.
Okay, so the better option would be to upload everything on OneDrive, then sync with the SharePoint then.
No, OneDrive is great at doing that. That's exactly what it's for.
Right,
So
okay, yeah.
I rarely click on these icons. I rarely look there. I work mostly in Windows Explorer because that's kind of how I'm used to it.
Mm-hmm.
The Windows Explorer is where traditionally your files have all been stored, and you've got your C drive here and your desktop. So I just work here. Every one of these is one of the organizations I work for. So Plexus has their own SharePoint site, Plutus has their own SharePoint site, and Yadusar has their own SharePoint site. And I have all kinds of files in here that I can access. OneDrive keeps these always in sync.
Yeah.
I think a lot of organizations tend to use, but I think the confusion is that OneDrive, you've got a space in OneDrive where you can store files, but OneDrive is also the application that syncs either OneDrive files or files that are kept within your OneDrive together, or uploads them into SharePoint. So it can get quite confusing, I think. And certainly in the organizations that I've worked for, the OneDrive file storage tends to be used more for your personal documents or things that aren't necessarily company ready. And then the SharePoint site is where they sort of end up and are accessible by the rest of the people in your organization. But obviously then you can use the OneDrive sync tool, which is that blue cloud at the bottom, to push both of those files between your computer and the cloud version as well, if that makes sense at all.
That's really, Alex, that's exactly why it's confusing, because OneDrive is the application, but it's also, if you look up here, it's also the private storage space. So this is my personal OneDrive. This is I haven't got, actually don't use it for Plutus, but Plexus, for example, this is a file that only I can see stored under the Plexus Cotton OneDrive, right, under my Plexus Cotton account. Under that shard, these are private just to me. These, as you say, are shared amongst the whole business. So yes, OneDrive is both your private space and the tool for syncing files. SharePoint is both the place you keep files and the website that you use, wherever it's gone, and the website that you use to access files. That one. So it all has more than one name and one use. It's very, very confusing, unfortunately. So any more questions? I was going to show you, so I've shown you creating a file in Windows Explorer. You can do it again through your browser. So you can come here and create a new file, or you can just press on the upload button. You'll see a fairly familiar dialog box with your computer on one side and your files. You can just click on that one, so we move that one, so I can upload that again, and you'll see in a minute or two, there we go, the file is now here. Okay, so you can upload files through the browser, you can upload files through Windows Explorer, and you can upload files through Teams. You have an upload button here as well. Files, or if you want to, whole folders. So I could, I'm not going to, but I could upload that whole folder and it would put all of these things up into SharePoint for me.
Dom, should we utter a word of caution about syncing? Because from my understanding, if you delete anything on your computer that's synced to SharePoint or OneDrive, you will actually delete that file in the cloud as well.
You absolutely will. It is, so there are two files. There's the one on your computer and the one on SharePoint. But all the time you have OneDrive application running, the two are synchronized. So if you make a change, and I can demonstrate it here, if we go to project line. So if I delete test file, yeah, it will disappear. There we go. And you'll notice the OneDrive application suddenly has these two arrows. That basically means it was synchronizing, and you can see it's removed it from OneDrive. So if I come here and refresh, yeah, there you go, it's gone. Okay, it will also have gone from here. If I refresh that one, yeah, so it's gone everywhere. So you've got to be very careful. A lot of people make the mistake of deleting whole folders from their PC without realizing that it's synced through OneDrive to SharePoint, and end up deleting a lot of things. It's the same also, just to be clear, with the content. So if I change the content of this file, oops, it's not typing. Let's do it here. So if I go to second test, notepad, type hello world and save that, you'll notice instantly, it was very quick, I don't know if you got a chance to saw it, but that the little arrows popped up there. And this has been modified a few seconds ago, it says here. If I now go in, there's my hello world. Okay, so changes you make on one, deleting, updating, editing the file, instantly move up and down. You do have the slight advantage though in that SharePoint has a recycle bin. Okay, so anything you delete will appear here and can be restored very easily. Either restore individual files or you could empty the recycle bin. So the same as on your desktop PC. If I come in here, hit restore, restoring one item, and let's come down here, and you'll see in a second this will kick in. And there it is. Okay, so it's back on my computer, but again with the cloud, so it's not actually on my computer. If I want it on my computer, I have to keep on this device. And always keep on this device.
Dom, how long do those files stay in the recycle bin before they're deleted forever?
I knew you'd ask that. Not very long is the short answer. I think it's about a month. It depends slightly on your license type with Microsoft. So if you pay for the big licenses, you get a bit longer. But as I imagine most of you are on the charity sort of free or Microsoft donation licenses, I think it's a month. It could be even less than that, so you should be careful. And it's if this is very, very important to you, you should also back up SharePoint. A lot of people are not bothering to back up these days because they say it's in the cloud, and clearly Microsoft does back it up for you here. And if Microsoft has a problem with their servers, they have backups and they can restore it, so you don't have to worry about that. But it's always a good idea if you can afford it, and if it's important enough to you, to back up SharePoint as well. And there are various tools that you can buy that will copy everything from SharePoint to a hard drive or to another cloud, just in case.
Am I able to ask a question, please?
Sure.
Is there a possibility to have more than one administrator on a file, for example, so two people can edit a file, or is it only to the person who uploads?
No, everybody can edit this file. So everyone that's got access to these files can edit them at the same time.
Okay.
If you ask Alex for the Teams session we did a couple of weeks back, I've actually gone in and demonstrated how that works and showed multiple people editing files at the same time.
Okay. And also, can you clear the recycling bin as well? Worst case scenario, you upload the wrong file. Obviously, if somebody has already downloaded it and it's backed up on their computer, obviously you can't access their computer. But say if it's a situation where you've uploaded something, you've noticed it straight away, you want it removed, can you delete it and also empty the bin?
Yeah, just up here, empty recycle bin. So if you deleted it from documents, it will synchronize around to everybody else that's downloaded it and delete it from their computer. And then come in the empty recycle bin. Just to be clear though, there is a possibility that if they download something and go offline, then that file won't be deleted from their computer. So there are little caveats you need to be aware of.
All right then. Thank you.
No problem.
And just also to say about the site structure and the permissions, because I think one way that people tend to use it might be that you've got your main sort of company site where everybody's got access and can edit and create documents within that site. But then something like the finance department or the finance person, or maybe if you've got a HR department, you might actually have different sites for those documents, and then different people will then have permissions to access those sites as well.
Yeah, so that's actually going to be the next part of that I start talking about. So I was going to show you the Plutus Partners shared documents, and you'll notice there's lots of folders here with different people using them. If I look at information technology as an example, and look at manage access. So this one so I'm the owner, okay? And anybody that's a member of this Plutus Partners members group can edit this folder and the files within it. Okay. If I pick another one, let's going to have to guess at one. Probably HR. Let's have a look in here. No, let's find something more likely. Financial control. That sounds like one that should be secured. Right, so now the accounts team can also access financial control. Okay, so they're not a member of Plutus Partners members. In fact, that's a person, sorry. That individual can also access this folder. Okay, but he can't access information technology. Okay, so direct access is one way of giving people access to folders. Okay, and you do that by simply granting access, typing the name of the person. So if I wanted to give, let me play with, so just because this is a live system, so I'll play in here. If I wanted to say, well, Binoy should have access to view information technology, but not edit it, I can grant access. I'm not going to notify him because he'll get confused. Grant access granted. And if I now go back in there, you see that Binoy is now directly able to access that and has view permissions. Okay, I could update that to edit, or I can remove its permissions as well. Okay, that's one way of sharing, which is quite good if you're sharing internally within your organization, because Binoy would see that folder appear on his site. But if I wanted to share this with somebody else, Alex, for example, links might be a better way of doing it. Okay, so I come up here and I hit share, and I've got a few options. I say anybody that has the link that I'm about to create can access this folder, or just people in my organization that also have the link. Okay, here I could say just people that have got direct access. So if they here, I can share a link with them and they can see it, or I can specify specific named people that should have permissions to this folder. I'm going to say allow editing, apply, and now if I type in someone's address, if I were to type in Alex, but yeah, that would now say, okay, warning, she's not part of my organization, but I can send that and she would receive an email with a link that she can click on that would take her to this folder. Okay, I could, if I roll, just copy that link here. So that's what the link looks like. So it's not a very friendly link, as you can see there. It's you're not going to remember that, but you can email that round. You can share it in a Teams chat or something, and if you are the person I shared it with, anyone in that case, that link would allow you to access the file. Sorry, in this case, actually, it would allow you to access the folder. And once you've accessed the folder, you could then upload or download any of those files. You could then sync it to your SharePoint. Sorry, you could sync it to your Teams or to your OneDrive. and you see that folder within your Teams or your OneDrive. So does that make sense? Is that sharing? Is that enough on sharing? Or do you want me to talk a bit more about sharing?
Can I ask another question? Sorry, I think someone's like to say something.
So yeah, go on. You ask your question, and I'll go for next.
Okay, I'm not sorry if my questions are a bit silly. I've not used OneDrive so much and Teams and as such, but I've done file sharing over like VPN. So for example, what I wanted to know is if two people can edit a file, can two people enter it at the same time, and would it override each other, or would it let you know that someone is already working on the file?
It would let both of you edit it, and you can see that somebody else, you can see their updates in real time.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So
that's one of the. So I was just going to add, it's one of the great things about the collaboration element of that sort of work, because you might be on a Word document and you've got all of your, you know, a part of your team that you can see them moving around within the space. It's quite interesting. You've got your little icons at the top where it's got DA there. Then if I was joined in on that document, you'd see AC there as well, and anybody else that are accessing or working on that document at the same time. So you can update and work on documents together in real time, and those changes will go back into the document.
So my question was basically, if you're sharing something with someone outside the organization and they're not signed up to SharePoint or Microsoft anyhow, if they get their link, they open the file, they work on it, it automatically updates onto any changes that they've made onto your SharePoint, sorry.
If you share with somebody who doesn't have a Microsoft account, who doesn't have Word or Excel, they would get a link. So they'd get a link like that. I don't know if it'll look for me. Let's try it. And it would just take them to this window, same as I'm in here. They could then, if they have been given right permissions, let me just create a new Word document. They could then go into the Word document and use Word Online and update the document here. Yeah.
Okay.
And that, as you can see up here, it's a whole separate conversation, a whole separate session, but these things are updating all the time now, so you don't need to go and do file save, it's just there.
Okay.
Just a point from Julie is saying you need to take care, as when we've been entering data at the same time, some of the data hasn't been saved. Do you know why that might happen, Dom?
So it's normally to do with this OneDrive application, and I can't force it to demonstrate it, but it's not uncommon for there to be a problem, and you get a little red X, this cloud icon here. When that happens, you get a warning here that says synchronization is not working, or there's a synchronization error. And that means that changes you make on your computer possibly aren't being uploaded, and changes somebody else makes online aren't being downloaded to your computer. Okay, and normally there's a button that says click here to sort of fix the problem. What I suggest, I quite often see it, is in Windows Explorer people say, oh, the files aren't there, they're missing. What's your computer? A copy of SharePoint. SharePoint is the truth. SharePoint Online tells you whether that file really exists or not, and anything else being equal, what's on SharePoint Online is the master. So when your sync issue is fixed, it would copy that down onto your computer. So if you're ever in doubt on computers, well, there's supposed to be more files or less files. The thing to do is right click on the folder and hit View Online. Okay, that will take you to that folder online, and what you see in the browser window is the truth. That is the version that is correct. Okay, so if two people are editing it and one says it's not working, View Online, look in the browser, and that is the final word. That is the correct word, the version.
question. Okay.
Sorry, someone asking a question. A bit
Yeah,
quiet.
it's John
Yeah.
here from Shack. Yeah, we've just been using SharePoint over the last month, I think, and one of the difficulties I've found is the when you've got like the sites, if you're using them, I think if you're trying to use subsites within sites, so you've got like say a projects folder, and then you want to have different projects within that and different people accessing them. So it seems like, you know, you've set up folders and you've given different people access to them, but then it can seem to be unreliable that still folders are accessible to others. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about at all?
I think I get you.
Hope so. God.
In here, I mean, permissions is a massive topic in its own right, and there's loads to look at around permissions that we can't go into today. If I do manage access, so I've shown you the sort of basic access, but down here there's an advanced option.
Yeah.
And then it gets very complicated with inherited permissions.
Yeah.
So this document inherits permissions from its parent. So the permissions, the people that have access to Project Lion,
yeah,
is inherited from the folder above.
Mm.
So if I manage the parent, okay, and it doesn't actually tell me what this parent is called. This is where I can actually configure permission. So if I add somebody here, can I do that? Grant permission. Let's do Binoy. Share. Oh damn! I've just notified him. Never mind. So grant Binoy permissions. Should pop up in a second. Okay, it's not coming up. I have to look into that, but I think the point is permissions are very complicated. You have, and in fact, the best thing to do, if you're really worried, is hit this check permissions button, and this can tell you what rights somebody actually has. So if I do myself and check now on this Project Lion folder, so sites Project Lion, I have full control because the Project Lion owners group, of which I'm a member, has full control, and I have edit control because the members group has edit. Okay, I also have deny, so I'm not allowed to add and customize the page. If I look at Aileen, who's one of the people that works at the company, she can't see this folder at all. Okay, so this is probably the best way to be sure who can and can't see your folder. If you're worried about somebody seeing something they shouldn't, or not being able to see something they should, come in here, click on check permissions, and that will tell you what's going on.
Would you recommend quite a flat structure then, if you're setting up folders, so that you just set up folders, say different folder, rather than like a projects folder with lots of subfolders in? You just keep it quite flat. If that's easier to manage, is it?
That is easier to manage. If everybody needs the same permissions, then that's absolutely fine. You don't have to have a complex folder structure. You can keep it fairly. I mean, this one is one folder called General, which has members have edit, visitors have view access, and that's it.
And you can, if you remove them groups, then members groups and owners, and well, not the owners group, but the members group, and then you just add individuals. You can do that. It's okay, isn't it?
You can do that as well. Yeah. It tends to be a bit more confusing to do it by user. Better practice is to do groups.
Right.
That way, if one user comes, you don't have to go and think, what are all the different places I need to give them permissions? You just add them to the group and they get it. And then if someone leaves, you just remove them from the group, and all of their permissions are revoked. But you can do it by person, directly by personnel if you want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot.
like that. Okay, Alex, did we start at 2 o'clock? Have we got 3 minutes left?
We've only got 3 minutes left, Dom. Yeah, it's a lot to cover. And
I was worried I couldn't talk for long enough on the subject. I suppose rather than me going further, are there any more questions that people have for the last few minutes?
I'm from Hopscotch, replacing Benaifa is Momota. I'm so sorry, I just got the message on the link very late, and I thought it was 2 to 4.
Yeah.
The training?
I think it's just till 3 o'clock.
No.
Oh, okay. So I haven't actually learned much, but it seems like something very interesting. Are you guys repeating the training again, or?
This has been recorded, so I think you can get a copy of the video and watch it back later.
Oh, that will be great. That will be, thank you, and sorry once again.
No problem.
Do you have
I think
any
also
like,
when we send,
sorry, do you have any notes and stuff? I mean, like, you know, like notes, like written ones about SharePoint at all that I could read, maybe?
Not really. I can try and find you some good. Microsoft might write some really good sort of help guides. I can try and find some and share them via Alex.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not really too keen on the really long, lengthy ones. So if they're quite short and maybe like the main things, really, not to go too late.
taking notes from the session, hassles, we'll have that to write up. But Mira, can we just check what's happened with the time, because people seem to be thinking we're running till 4.
Yeah, I thought so as well. That's what I've been told.
Yeah, that's what I was told. I've got the email as well. And also one more question I was thinking to ask, maybe not related. Often, you know, I use my personal device like phone and laptop, and accidentally, obviously, I'm not expert on the SharePoints and all that, and all the documents got shared on my work file. Something I was interested to actually learn, but unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to ask any question, I assume.
I couldn't tell you for sure how that's happened.
Yeah, I know. So it was. I mean, I'm out of it now. I've got new phone and everything from the workplace, so that's good. But still, I'm a bit hesitant always. But yeah, at some point, is there any way I can get in, connect with somebody, or sit for another training?
Alex, is that something you can take up afterwards?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think just with the timing, I think the confusion is that the normal workshops that we've run that have been from 2 till 4, but because this was quite focused on a specific topic, it was 2 till 3. So I think looking at the Eventbrite, it's saying 2 to 3 on mine. Mira,
on mine it said 2 to 4 as well. So I think
same mine.
Really, that's quite strange. I've got 2 to 3. I don't know what's happened there.
Yeah, Benaifa got 2 to 4 as well, or hopscotch.
Right.
And West Hampstead Women's Centre, it was 2 till 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think most of us had it for 2 to 4.
Okay, it's not just me then.
Dom, I don't suppose you have another hour, do you?
I'm just trying to check. I do have another meeting, but I'm just going to see if I can push it back. So give me a minute.
I've got a question, if I may ask, please.
Can you just give me 1 minute? Alex, do you mind maybe just talking for a minute while I just see if I can move my other meeting?
Sure. So we can see Dom's meeting started already down at the bottom. Do people want to put the questions in the chat box as well?
yeah, of course, yes,
Yeah, sure.
I'll do that. And how do you see the responses though?
Well, we'll pick them up.
And
We'll pick them
email
up from the chat box.
and then email them back and email.
Yeah, it's just if we don't get time to go through everything now, because in the planning with Dom, we only scheduled 1 hour, so I don't know how much longer he's got.
Of course.
Also, I'm also on a different work day today, so I need to leave shortly as well. So if we've got the questions in the chat box, we can pick up on those and get back to you as well.
Okay, Alex, we can directly email you as well, right?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, so if there is a demand for another one, is not possible to reorganize one?
We can do another session. Yeah, if you think that you need longer.
I think
maybe
I don't know
some.
about the others, but from the hopscotch point of view, it just like it seems like we use this part of the you know, the SharePoints and everything quite a lot. So it will be really good to.
I can hang around for another half hour. So,
Another half an hour.
Okay,
I
cool.
can do a
Okay.
little bit more if there are some more.
Thanks, Dom. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Alex, it's Nash from KCB. If it's possible to organise another session, I mean, I've got staff members who'd also want to be a part of it. So if it's possible for you or IVAC to organise another session, I'm sure we could fill it with lots of people.
Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, shall we make, as we've got Dom here, shall we make use of him for the 30 minutes we've got, and then whatever feels like we haven't covered, and you've got more questions, that we focus the next session on that specifically, or maybe just do a general Q&A session where people can bring their problems and Dom can answer that.
Sure.
There's one area I haven't covered yet, so I'm happy to talk about that, unless people have a lot of questions, in which case I'm happy to just try and answer questions.
Okay.
People want to just come up with the questions then.
So what are the benefits of syncing documents on SharePoint?
Well, so the idea to me is that storing files in SharePoint means that I can access them from any computer, anywhere, and from lots of different applications. So when a file is stored on my PC, I have to have my PC with me, my laptop with me. If I store it in SharePoint, I can access it from my home PC, my work PC, or PC in a hotel lobby or a friend's house. It also means that multiple people can access and share that file at the same time. So you and I can both work on a file, either at the same time, or I could work on it in one day and you could work on it the next.
It sounds like really useful to have that the SharePoint app then. Yeah,
it's very, very useful. And of course, the thing I always say, the brilliant thing is Microsoft manage it all. So no matter how much money you've got to spend on IT support, none of us can do as good a job as Microsoft does.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So let them manage it. Let them host the servers and the systems and the software, and we just use the tools.
Oh, fantastic! And it means we don't have to have so much IT support then on SharePoint.
You have no servers, you have no systems. You can sign up to Office 365 and have SharePoint going within 10 minutes from nothing.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, sounds good.
Shall I? I think I've covered everything on permissions, and I think I've covered sharing as well. There was the last thing that I haven't really talked about, which is the Teams site and the interface. This hasn't come up in the question, so if people aren't interested, I'll just spend a few minutes and just tell me that you're not so worried. But this page here can be very useful as an intranet and as a collaboration page for your team. So you'll notice it in this specific one, we've got a timeline. It's not particularly active, but it's a timeline. We've got a company announcement section. We've got a calendar, and we've got the shared documents all in one page. So if you make this your start page in your browser, you can always come in and see all of this stuff in one place. And it's pretty easy to edit and to customize. You've got the edit button at the top here, and you can come and insert elements into your text. So I want to insert a picture or a video. That's really easy to do. A link, or I can insert something, a form here. All right, so everybody that sees this page could see this particular form, or they could see a blog, or they could see, documents. If I wanted to put documents, I've already done here, but I'll just show you. I can add it into the page anywhere I like. It's not necessarily the fastest, but it does work. There you go. So I've got now my key activities. I don't really want to see that anymore. That's kind of useless. I'll delete that. And now I've just got documents, so I can add in a header up here. Documents. Yeah, I'll make that a bit bold. Yeah, you're all familiar with this sort of text editing, right? There we go. Save that. Okay, and now hopefully you remember kind of what this site looked like a few minutes ago. But now, every time I type in partners.sharepoint.com, this is the page I get now. Okay, so it can be configured to really work for you. Here's the original bit, right? So SharePoint is also an intranet. Okay, and this is what a lot of people don't really realize. It's a great file sharing site, but it's also your intranet. It's also a place you can share news and updates with your business. You can share pictures of some of the work you've been doing. So if I wanted to, I'm not doing it very great job graphically, but if I want to insert a picture, I'm not going to say what pictures I've got on my computer, but pictures, videos, or links, I could probably even embed YouTube. There we go, and save that. Right, okay, so it's not great, but with a bit of work, you can make this a lot neater and a lot tidier. But yeah, if I want to access YouTube, I just click on that link and it takes me straight to YouTube. So you can make it to your company's internal website, which is what a lot of people do. What else? What else? That's on a team site. On a com site, it's even more graphical. It's even more visual. And again, if you guys are familiar with things like WordPress, this works in pretty much the same way. You can add all kinds of components to your site. So I want to add a Bing map. This is where I am now in Epsom. So I hit republish. And now my site starts with the same thing, and then there's a map here that I can drill into or whatever. I can edit it again. So you know what, I don't like this top section. Let's delete that all together. Start with a map, and then you might want to add in something from Kindle. Not sure quite why. Images, lists, organization charts. Okay, these things are really, really powerful. Try a different person. Let's try that one again, shall we? So there's B. Not quite sure how that one works, but you can add more things in there. Any questions on pages and interests?
Why would you want to edit a SharePoint, your SharePoint site? Is to make it? Is it to make it easier for you or for your colleagues, or
to make it easier for your colleagues? SharePoint is not just sharing files. You might want to share, let's say, company updates. You might want the CEO to share his progress on some business, or reports from some of your from your clients. So it's a way of just giving something to your staff without them having to go look for it. It's not always, you don't always want to work in Word and Excel. This is effectively a website internal just to your company. And you can then add, you can then share it in the same way and have the same sort of permission. So this could be private, it's a private website that is only visible to your company and your staff.
I see. Thank you.
No problem. Well, that's the end of the things I was going to talk about.
Could I ask a question?
Please.
You said earlier something about having forms that could be automatically sent to somebody. How would that actually work here?
Asking a really hard question there.
Oh, is it?
So let's go. So you've got, it's actually quite complicated. SharePoint, I said we've talked about the intranet, the look and feel, and we've talked about the document library. But there's lots and lots more applications and features and functions that SharePoint can perform. So I've actually not created a library for years, so I might come across it, but you can add you come here and you look at what apps can you add. You create a form. Template. There aren't any default ones, which is really annoying. I'm probably not going to be able to show you that now, but if that's something you guys are really interested in, I can do a set on that another time.
Hi, Dominic, there's another question. I don't know if that's been answered. Someone said, is there an easier way to edit documents? Is there an easier way to edit documents, especially Excel, without having to open it in desktop? I guess you can just...
Hi. I sent in a couple of questions on the chat.
Yeah.
Sure. Can I just ask the first one, and then I'll come to
sure.
Who's asking that. So yes, there is an easier way to edit documents. Let's try and find. So within the documents section.
Yeah.
Okay, we have here's an Excel file and here's a Word document. Let's create a new Excel file. I'll just create a new Excel workbook. This uses Excel Online. So I'm still in the browser here. I'm not running the Excel application. But I have the full functionality of Excel. So that's the easiest way. It doesn't need any software to be installed. You could do this on any computer. It doesn't have quite everything, but as you can see, most of the things that most people use, is available. So you can create charts and graphs, and it's the same with Word. It has most of the functionality. And this is what we were talking about. Multiple people can be editing this at the same time. Oh, actually, here.
Yeah, I came across a problem where I've got, for example, I've got a plan on Excel, and then in certain boxes on the normal Excel on my desktop, I can highlight or change the color of certain words or lines within each of the cells. But on 365, it blanks out your whole toolbar, so you're unable to do that. You can change the whole cell color. So I've just found I have to keep opening it up in the desktop app and then doing it that way. I just wondered if there was a button I've not hit in the right place.
Yeah, possibly to do with your license. If you haven't got, no, in fact, that's not true because all licenses have the online tool. That sounds like an error that you should, if you've got an IT team, you should get them to look at, because as you can see here, most of the functionality that you have in Excel application you have online, and as you can see,
I can color the whole, like if, for example, if I'd wrote the quick brown fox and then I just wanted to highlight fox in a different color, it then blanks out, like it has done on yours now, blanks out the entire toolbar. So if you just try to alter one word into a different color, it just blocks it out. See?
Oh, I see. Right. Okay.
It's a pain in the bum.
Yeah. That'll be a limitation then on the
Yeah, so it is. You do have to just open it up.
Yeah, in which case, open desktop app.
Yeah. And then the other question that I had is also when I've come to do formulas on normal Excel, it would just obviously, if you're just doing a sum, it would then give you the total in the end column. At the moment on my Excel, it's literally just giving me the formula.
So if you got a formula like this, so here's 2 + 2 is 4. There's the formula.
Yeah, but in my total, but in my total box, for example, if I had it in where the 4 is, it would then just give me the formula. It doesn't give me the figure. I mean, these are probably specific questions for an IT person, but I just thought I'd get them in now.
Yeah, I don't know. There will be almost certainly somewhere an option that says show formulas or show totals. Maybe some, I don't know. By default, it should show you the values, right? So
yeah,
the
that's right.
Here, and this would be here.
Yeah, so again, I have to then do all those alterations in the desktop app and then save it back. So it's just, it's just a question. It's no big deal.
I use Excel quite a lot, and I have this problem as well. And I do the apps are good. The online web apps are good for basic things, but if you need to do something a bit more complicated, I think there's the full functionality that you've got when you open it into the desktop. So you do have to switch, but you can do that from directly from the cloud as well, and that will save back up to the cloud.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. It's just, clicking it open again once you've got it open. Yeah. Thank you.
You can also open directly from the cloud. So if you go into Excel, the application on your machine, you can also go straight to SharePoint, or straight to OneDrive. So you don't need to go in via SharePoint, find the file, open in app. I could come in here to sites. My online credentials are expired. There we go. I won't do it now because this.
No, that's fine. I'll give it a go.
Nice ranges. Yeah, that's a problem.
That's okay. I'll try it out. Thank you.
No worries. Anybody else?
Quick question: is there any difference between using iOS, so Mac, using this SharePoint on Mac and on obviously a Microsoft device?
There will be a couple of little differences here and there, but 90% of the features work on iOS, on a Mac OS, as in a Mac laptop or a Mac desktop, as well as on an iOS and an iPad or an iPhone.
As long as you've got the, but it's the online services will be the same. Obviously, if you don't have Microsoft installed in your Mac or your iOS device, it won't work in the same way, apart from the online stuff.
The online, if you don't have the application installed, then you can't do anything on a Mac. If you do have Word or Excel installed on your Mac, and there are Mac versions, as well as iOS, iPhone versions that you can install. So I do have, I'll just very quickly show you, where's my camera? There. So I do have the, you can kind of see it there.
Yeah.
Word and Excel on an iPhone.
Okay. But the syncing and everything, it will be pretty much the same, I guess.
It's very similar.
Windows Explorer, because you won't have that functionality on a Mac.
No, but you have Finder. So on a Mac, Finder is Windows Explorer, and you can do the same thing. You can synchronize into Finder, and you can have shortcuts there.
Okay, that's brilliant.
Yeah, almost everything you can do on Windows, you can do on a Mac. It may just look a little bit different.
I'm just wondering, what is the difference between OneDrive? What exactly is the difference between OneDrive and SharePoint? I'm a bit confused.
Right.
What is OneDrive exactly?
So OneDrive, I refer to OneDrive as the application down here. Okay, so it's the program that you install that copies files from SharePoint to your computer.
So it's the program you install that copies files from SharePoint to your computer.
Exactly.
And
SharePoint is the underlying storage where your files are actually saved.
yeah, and then OneDrive, and then it comes onto OneDrive in some way.
OneDrive copies them from SharePoint onto your computer. So OneDrive is a way of accessing your files. Nothing is actually ever stored in OneDrive. I know this gets very complicated. OneDrive is just a method of accessing it.
So OneDrive copies files from SharePoint to your computer then?
Yeah, exactly. Where it gets confusing though is that...
So it's a kind of a backup then?
What I'm describing in a moment, no, it's just a synchronization tool. All it does is copy files from one place to the other.
Oh.
But why I think people get confused is OneDrive is also a product from Microsoft that is personal storage just for you. So,
Don, can you show it on the waffle button in the back in the Office 365? Because I think it's on the outside, isn't it?
Yeah. So OneDrive is also an application here. So just in your Office 365 desktop, there's an application which you notice it's called My Files. Okay, so this is private to me. Okay, and this is actually still stored on SharePoint, but these are my OneDrive files that only I can access.
And none of your colleagues can?
None of my colleagues can, unless I choose to share with them.
How do you share from that file? You can share, you can click the share button.
Exactly.
Okay.
So see here, there's a little forward. This is when I was planning the first presentation. You hit this share button, and this is a similar box to the one I showed a while ago, where you can choose to share with anybody. Okay. You can set expiry dates, passwords. You can block download. So this means they can see the file online, but they wouldn't be able to download and copy that file to their computer.
Okay.
Okay.
And the sync button that you showed earlier, that syncs files from OneDrive to SharePoint. The sync button.
Sync button here syncs them from online to my computer. Okay.
To your computer, your own
to my
computer.
computer.
Yeah. Okay.
So consider OneDrive. You could think of OneDrive and SharePoint as two products next to each other in the cloud.
Yeah. In the cloud. Okay.
Okay. And the sync is to sync them onto your personal computer and the hard drive, the physical hard drive that you have at your office or your home.
All right. Oh, okay. That's a lot clearer now. Thank you.
Okay.
There's a question. There's the one question. Is OneDrive same as Google Drive?
It's a very similar product. It's not the same. So no, if you store something in OneDrive, you won't be able to see it through Google Drive, but it works in very much the same way. OneDrive is a Microsoft product. Google Drive is Google's product.
We actually have a workshop on the Google Workspace, I think it's called now. On, is it Wednesday next week?
Yeah,
Tuesday next week. I think 1st of December.
Great. I'm not doing that, am I?
You're not, Tom. Don't worry now.
I wasn't prepared for that one. Yeah,
we're
so
probably going to have to bring it to a close as well. We're approaching 3:30. I know, Dom, you've got your meeting that you postponed.
Absolutely.
So can I just give a big thanks to Dom, and especially for staying on the extra half hour with the confusion over the time, and the evaluation forms. Am I still there?
Yeah.
Dropped out.
Yeah, we can hear you.
No, still there. Sorry. Yeah, when we start the evaluation forms, just put in there any questions or email me separate with any questions that you didn't get answered today, and we'll pick up on those shortly afterwards. And obviously we've got the recording, we've got some notes. We'll get all of that ready and sent out to you probably a few days after the workshop today.
Thank you very much. It was really useful. Thank you.
Good. Glad it was helpful for everyone.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank